Proctor. His speaker is out of town, and he is going to ably fill the spot. Commissioner Proctor. Okay.
Lord, we thank you. We thank you for our community of Leon County, Florida. We thank you for the multiple ways in which you bless us and how you lead us and protect us. We thank you how you protect us when storms are raging. We thank you, Lord, when things are wilding out and citizens remain calm and committed to those things and purposes which we know is right. Lord, we come now to a meeting of a county government, asking your presence, asking your mercy and your guiding hand upon our minds, our hearts. May our intellectual skins be tough as we are strong enough to hear, perceive, and to wrestle with the ideas proffered by one the other in this arena of a commission chamber. But might we leave here emptied of any enmity or strife, because that deliberation which we have shared has been offered in the name of public policy making. And so for your presence to give to us that unctioning, that will, the stand-up ability, and the courage to speak our hearts and our minds and our truths to one the other is what we wish for in this meeting. For a community that you've blessed so mightily, it's almost greedy to ask your continued favor. But Lord, we can't make it without you. And our community can't be protected without you. So for the guardian angels of heaven who look upon Leon with favor, we ask, we invoke, we implore that you would keep us and hold us in the hollow of your hand is our prayer. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor, for that fine prayer. We appreciate it. First up on our agenda today, I see that our Leon County Sheriff's in attendance today. Sheriff Walt McNeil, we have on schedule a public safety update. Before we get started, I would just extend our great appreciation for you joining us here today to provide this information, and not only for that, but for the day-to-day and hour-by-hour work you do to keep us all safe here in Leon County. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to all the commissioners, and to our newest commissioner, Commissioner Minor. Congratulations, sir. Good to see you sitting at that dais. The report I have this afternoon is quite short. Fact of the matter is, I could do as Alan suggested. I could just drop the mic and say crime is down and take my seat. But I will do a little bit more than that. I will tell you that first and foremost, you have a tremendous staff. You already know that, but Vince and Alan are tremendous, have worked with us trying to make sure all of our needs are met, and they have done that for the most part. As we embark on 2019, we've got crime going in the right direction. We're working well with our partners all across our law enforcement family of providers here in Leon County. We're also working with our federal and state partners in terms of trying to drive down our crime issues. For 2019, as we move into that year, we're going to focus on three huge initiatives, and I know you support each and every one of those initiatives. First, obviously, is our law enforcement efforts in terms of fighting crime and getting those persons involved in crime off the streets. Secondly, we're going to focus on our prevention efforts. One of those efforts you authorized, which is a focus on the youth of our community, and I speak of the Children's Services Council. We're going to work diligently with that organization to see if we can't make some impacts in terms of the youth of our community. And last and equally important, we're going to focus on reentry, another effort that you have embraced, and we're working with our partners in the social service areas to make that come to fruition with your assistance. Our crime is down, as I said from the outset, countywide, including the city of Tallahassee, something close to about 20%. You should know that in the unincorporated parts of Leon County, murders are down by 17%, rapes are down 27%, burglaries are down some 20%, larcenies by 11%, simple assaults are down 11%, and giving us a total decrease in crime of about 11%. That's only in incorporated parts of Leon County. As I said before, I believe at the end of the year, combined with Tallahassee Police and the Leon County Sheriff's Office and our other partners, crime will be down something on the magnitude of about 20 to 24%, which again speaks well of the efforts that we're putting forward here in Leon County. And your help and your leadership makes all that happen. So thank you all, commissioners, for giving me the opportunity to speak to you. And I'll make a hasty retreat. I've got a collective meeting taking place right now involving the State Attorney's Office and the U.S. Attorney's Office, where we're doing those plans to deal with some of the issues in terms of crime. So thank you, and God bless, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sheriff. At this time, I will move to the podium for a special proclamation and turn it over to my vice chair.
I'm large and in charge.
Feel a lot safer with these guys over here. So, if I could get the volunteer firefighters to come on up and join me for our proclamation. As well as Mr. Bobby Bacon and all of our visitors that are here to represent. All right. Chief, come on up. There's room for you. I'm excited to be honored to present the annual Jack Heron Volunteer Firefighter of the Year Award. Our annual Volunteer Firefighters Fire Truck Roundup was canceled due to Hurricane Michael. And I'm pleased to be presenting this proclamation today to honor and thank our volunteer firefighters. We normally do it, I'm told, at our firefighter truck roundup. To honor and thank our volunteer firefighters for their continuous dedication and service to the residents of Leon County. I will be presenting the proclamation first, but you'll have to hold your breath because Mr. Bacon will actually be responsible for presenting our Jack Heron Award, the annual Volunteer Firefighter Truck Roundup, as a sponsor of the annual Volunteer Firefighter Truck Roundup and the Jack Heron Award for the past 21 years, which is a huge testament to your work here in Leon County, Mr. Bacon. So at this point, I will present read the proclamation and then present it. Whereas Leon County's volunteer firefighters carry on the truly American tradition of citizen response for the common good, volunteer firefighters protect our lives, our families, and the economic life of our communities from the threat of destructive fire, often at great personal sacrifice to themselves. And whereas volunteer firefighters remain on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in Leon County, and respond at a moment's notice to structure and wildland fires, emergency medical incidents, hazardous materials incidents, natural disasters, and other emergency and general public service calls in the unincorporated areas of the county. And whereas these trained and organized volunteers, our neighbors, spend an enormous amount of their time in training to prepare for the emergency response and responding to emergencies without any compensation. And whereas residents of some unincorporated areas of Leon County rely on volunteer firefighters to be their first line of defense, and in other areas alongside career staff in these emergencies. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Leon County hereby recognizes and thanks the vital contribution of the men and women of the following volunteer fire departments for their continuous dedication and service to the residents of Leon County: Bradfordville, Shears Capitola, Lake Jackson, Lake Talquin, Miccosukee, and Woodville. And further, in recognition of the enormous contributions made by these volunteers, Leon County designates Tuesday, December 11, 2018, as Leon County Volunteer Firefighters Day. The proclamation is signed by all 7 of our county commissioners, as well as our county administrator, and I am honored to present this to you, Chief Abrams, and I think we'll have a photo opportunity before we present our Firefighter of the Year, Mr. Bacon. Is that right? Okay. Sure. At this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Bacon for his presentation.
Thank you, Chairman Jackson. And first, I'd like to thank the County Commission for considering this recognition to be significant enough to be presented here at a County Commission meeting. As Chairman Jackson mentioned, our 21st annual Volunteer Fire Truck Roundup, which promotes the service of our great volunteer firefighters, was canceled this year due to Hurricane Michael. So we've made other arrangements, and we thank you for the invitation to be here today to recognize our outstanding volunteer firefighters in Leon County. This year, we get, every year, in case you're unaware, we get nominations from all of the local volunteer fire departments, as well as people in the community, about someone they think is particularly deserving of recognition as the outstanding volunteer firefighter of the year in Leon County. This year, the nominator who nominated our recipient said that he is always involved, consistently responding to calls, and maintaining the department's focus on safety and efficiency. She also said that he puts in long hours in response to calls at all hours of the day and night. She said he is a visionary, seeking what is needed, researching it, and recommending things that further the mission of the Bradfordville Fire Department. Finally, the nominator states, "I know many others who have received this recognition, and Captain Kevin Spear should be one of them." Well, today he is. So I congratulate the captain of the Bradfordville Fire Department, Kevin Spear, on being the outstanding Volunteer Firefighter of the Year in Leon County, and we have this lovely little token of our appreciation.
Members of the Commission, friends and family, and fellow firefighters, I want to say just a couple words of thanks, if I may. I'm proud to be a volunteer firefighter here in Leon County, and I'm honored to work alongside the Tallahassee Fire Department. We have many opportunities that we don't get otherwise without that mutual assistance. I'd like to thank my own department, Sean Grain, Chief of the department, for his support. I'd like to thank the department for helping me become a firefighter, and I'd like to thank the Tallahassee Fire Department for helping me become a better firefighter. I also would like to thank my family who's here. What's unspoken here is the extent to which it's important to have the support of your family and your wife or husband, as the case may be, and so I would like to thank them as well. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am here to present a proclamation recognizing Human Rights Week. I'd like to ask Mr. Latry Hollinger, President of NAACP, to come up for a second. Any other representatives here from NAACP may come up as well. Proclamation reads, whereas the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted on December the 10th, 1948 by the United Nations General Assembly, and whereas the Universal Declaration of Independence set out the basic principles of equity and non-discrimination in terms of the enjoyment of human rights, and affirms that everyone shall be free from slavery, torture, arbitrary arrest, or detention. And whereas Article 1 describes the philosophy on which the Universal Declaration of Independence is based, stating, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and right. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. And whereas the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is the most translated document in the world, having been translated into 370 languages and dialects. And whereas this year marks the 17th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and whereas our relationships to one another are defined not by our differences, but by our belief in the ideas enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Leon County, Florida, that December 10th, 2018 is hereby proclaimed Human Rights Day in Leon County in the week beginning December 10th, 2018 as Human Rights Week. The board encourages everyone, as we observe the 17th anniversary of the affirmation that inalienable rights exist for every individual, that we as residents of Leon County work to ensure these rights are afforded to everyone in our community. This time by myself as well as the rest of the commission, and attested to by the county administrator.
On behalf of the Executive Committee of the Tallahassee branch of the NAACP, we'd like to thank the Board of County Commissioners for this declaration.
We certainly do appreciate what our President Hollinger has said. And I'd just like to say it's good to be in the County Commission Hall in your presence again. I think it's been about 5 years, but I'm back.
Thank you very much. We plan to see you a lot more.
Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to appreciate the NAACP board as we've taken this fabulous picture here, and the executive committee for bringing this to us. And little point of reflection for me this week, and I just want to take this opportunity. I spent a lot of time at FSU focused on human rights, worked with Dr. Terry Coonan at the Center for the Advancement of Human Rights. FSU has delved into this area in a way that no other university has, and it was illuminating to me to realize that President Truman appointed Eleanor Roosevelt to lead the committee that came up with the declaration. And the history of this declaration and the conversation that went into it is substantial, and it affects what we talk about every day. So I really appreciate you all bringing that to our attention on the anniversary. So thank you very much.
Okay, moving right along, Mr. Jim McShane with Career Source Capital Region. Mr. McShane, good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Commissioners, and happy to be in front of you. Of course, the hurricane made it so that I'm about 2 months late, or 3 months late, but I do want to report how we've done for the past year. So, as you know, we connect with employers and qualified skilled talent in Florida's with Floridians for employment and career development and opportunities to achieve economic prosperity in Gadsden, Leon, and Wakulla County. This is our board members. These are appointed business people that serve on this board. According to federal law, it has to be 51% business-led, and these are the folks that serve from the different counties. Leon County has 7 slots. Wakulla has 2, and Gadsden has 3. We also partner with local agencies, and part of our board has to be also, by federal statute, a number of different individuals from Union, Department of Oak Rehab, universities, community college, et cetera. So you can see here, we've got our economic development professionals on our board, as well as our training providers on our board. We do have a vacancy right now in Leon County, and we may have 2 after this meeting because we have 1 person that hasn't shown up. And if they don't show up this time, then they are automatically off. We need your help. So one of the things that I've learned in our monitoring from DEO is that it is expected that you as commissioners are the ones that are supposed to be helping me and helping my board basically find people that are C-suite influencers in our local economy, people that we're looking right now is retail sector and hospitality sector. It requires that you all can make recommendations, and we've been working with you for all these last 5 years. This has worked well. We'd like to develop a list at some point of recommended people that we can turn to when someone either resigns or moves along to a different job. We're asking for your assistance on that. It has to be a business owner, a CEO, and then because we're workforce, it has to be a significant employer in the area. So somebody that employs hundreds of people is preferred, but not necessarily. But we do want to see the type of people that will influence in each of our sectors. And as you know, we've adopted a sector strategy, so we are actually, our board represents all sectors except for these 2, retail and hospitality. So if you can help us with that, I'd appreciate that. So last year during our program year, this is the occupations that were most in demand. Registered nurses is that way everywhere in this country. It's not any different here. Software developers here. Heavy and trailer truck drivers. We send a lot of drivers, a lot of people to school, truck driving school that we pay for, and they get a job instantly when they're out of the school. We had in September, just to let you know, we had over 200 postings for IT jobs that we were unable to fill. We have an IT issue here that we're really trying to work with. We're working with a couple of IT providers in our area right now, and we've applied for a CareerSource Florida grant to see if we can set up an apprenticeship program in the IT industry through Lively and TCC. Our top 10 direct employers by the number of ads they placed in our area are these folks here. So you can see our universities are there and our 2 hospitals, and that's not surprising at all. Here's the real report for you all because you want to know how did we do in the past program year. We provided 16,248 solutions to businesses. I only have 2 people out calling on businesses. So it's not like I've got a whole sales team of 10 people. So that's amazing that they've been able to help businesses that much. Attending hiring events, and as you know, we went away from the old type of events where you just had a table and we had businesses, and they may or may not have been hiring. Only businesses that come to our events now have to have a slot that's open and they have to be hiring. So whether it's Paycheck for Patriots, which we did last month, whatever our hiring fair is, our goal is to get people employed. Number of career seekers attending those events, we had 640. Solutions that we provide career seekers, which is everything from going into workshops, how to create resumes, and as you know, with your support, We are in all the libraries on a quarterly basis, doing some of these workshops to help people find out what they need to do in order to find a good job. Our Career Center visits were up at 31,000. It's down from previous years. We usually were in the 49 to 50,000 range. And I think part of it is obviously with the low unemployment rate, it's not surprising we don't have as many people coming through our system. Last year, we spent $982,000 in training dollars, which paid for tuition, books, et cetera, for people that we helped get employed. And direct recruitment, we placed 627 people, and over 5,615 used our system to get a job. As of the end of last year, our last program year, we were at 4%. We are down to 2.9% in this area right now. Wakulla is 2.5%, and even Gadsden now is in the 3% range, which is surprising. But it tells you we're at full employment, and so the people that we're seeing today are people that need much more help. This is just to give you a breakdown by area, which county, and the number of people that came through our centers. This will give you the top 5 schools that we send people to so that you get a sense every year where we send people to. We've got a wonderful, and I mean, Shelley Bell has been wonderful to work with. I've got to tell you, that's been the best relationship improvement that I've seen, and that it's really driving some of our work together. Same with TCC. I've got Kim Moore, the head of our Pathways Council, doing just a tremendous job. In February, we'll probably get recognized at the national level for a best practice. Operations, 5 financial aid programs. This is where the money's spent. Primarily, again, we can only spend money in areas where there's demand. So if there's demand for certain jobs, we can spend money there. If there's no demand for a job, we cannot spend federal dollars on it. We have our Power Hour. We do a lot of things with our business community to help bring them together. We bring speakers into the area. This was at our Career Center here in Leon County, where we had over 45 HR employers, including some of our state employer HR people. We're really working hard at that, and First Commerce Credit Union was our supporter on that. We also do one-time hiring things every time that a new restaurant's open up. Hardee's, whatever, as you can see with Popeyes here, we were able to draw in 92 career seekers, and they were able to place 45 people who were offered jobs on the spot. That's our goal, really. Regional partnerships, you need to know, too, that we have created the Florida-Georgia Workforce Alliance. Part of that is to deal with the fact that our business employers want a larger pool of people and talent. And so this helps broaden that talent. We're meeting on every other month basis, and we're looking at doing some things across the whole state line, Georgia, Florida, together in order to help our businesses find what they're looking for. We also work with corrections, and we work with the sheriff who was just here. We're working on people that are coming out of prison and how to place them. I won't put this through, but if you get a chance, you ought to look at what our Dynamic Futures does. We use that working with Jerry Bush. This summer youth program, we gave everybody that training, and when we had the training exit lunch, 2 of the 3 presenters presented on what they learned from this. This is to get people prepared with what businesses continue to tell us that they don't have soft skills. This trains them in the soft skills. And we also help people find the type of clothing they need in order to get a job. We work with City Walk, and this is one young man that we helped get a job. So exciting changes. We're doing our sector strategies. We've had 3 roundtables in the last 3 months, one with IT, one with manufacturing, one with healthcare. Our goal is to have that conversation with our employers to make sure that what we're providing is meeting their needs. We're expanding our approved training program and partnerships. We've launched adult work experience opportunities. We have a customer-centered design. When you walk into our Leon Center, you can see that. It's all about the people that we're serving. We've expanded with our alliance, and then we also just had our Talent Innovation Summit on October 17th, where we brought in a speaker from New York to talk about apprenticeships and how we might move that forward here. Just to give you a little sense of some of the partnerships we have, of course, you all are big supporters of us, and I really appreciate it. My staff does too. We do a lot of things with a lot of different agencies. We do a lot of things with our providers. These are just some of the people that we have MOUs with. Our goal really is to be ingrained in our system and in our area so that we're helping provide the services that are needed. And serving businesses, number one now under our new law. So these are some of the things that we do in order to get the employers engaged. And with that, I'll take any questions.
I have Commissioner Dozier and Commissioner Proctor in queue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Jim, very much. It's good to see you, and note taken about the board members, although your roundtables, I wonder if that might give you some additional names. So I'm really interested to see who may get engaged from those meetings, so I'm glad you're doing that. I don't mean to out you on this, Commissioner Maddox, but I saw you had rung in and then got out of queue when Jim mentioned the reentry programs and working with. So I assume that was on your list of questions, and it was on my list as well. So on behalf of Commissioner Maddox, if I'm reading his mind correctly, thank you for mentioning that. It came up in our retreat yesterday. My question, and you touched on this a little bit with the training programs, and I didn't get through the whole list of the top job or job openings, the nurses and IT and others, but you said you can't dedicate money to training programs unless there's a demand. I'm wondering if construction was on that list. I saw welding as a program that you're funding, but not other general construction programs. And related to that, I'll just say you've been in conversations at the Chamber of Commerce and with all those partners you've identified about workforce training in general, and we still have a big need. Obviously, the IT sector stands out. I know TMH is doing a job fair for folks who were formerly in maybe Bay County and other places, nurses, things like that. So I'm just wondering if you have any reflections on kind of where we are with OEV and some of the conversations we've been involved in about the workforce training and what you see coming in the next year on that end.
Good question. So yes, I'm part of the Chamber's Workforce Committee, and both Shelley Bell and myself had a long conversation with 5 or 6 of the general contractors in our area. One of the issues that I shared with them is the fact that if they don't post jobs on Employ Florida, that it doesn't get into our data system. And if it doesn't get into our data system, that's what keeps me from being able to spend money on training people in those areas. I think they understand what what our challenges are. Of course, they all sub out to different subs, and they're the ones that they're going to work with. Shelley and I are, again, looking at whatever ways that we can set up apprenticeship-type programs. Apprenticeships are good because, number one, the young people that get into apprenticeship are not going to get into any debt. If they go through the K-12 system, it is actually paid for. There is no tuition or anything that they have to pay, and if they qualify under my program, we will pay for their books and any other tools and things that they need to have. So our goal is really to get a couple of businesses to step up and be willing to be sponsors of an apprenticeship program in this county. We have none right now. And so that's our goal. We hope that we can get it done and accomplished this year because, yes, construction is in big demand, but again, in my database, it doesn't show. So hopefully it will.
That's a critical piece of information that I had not heard before, that they need to post in order to get the training. So thank you for that. And last question, Mr. Chair. You brought me into a call with some folks from DEO, a series of conference calls last year about apprentice programs. learned a lot from you all about some of the state statutes that may look different than other states. Do you see any, well, I'll frame it this way. If there's anything that we could support through our legislative agenda that would help us in the workforce training and the apprenticeship programs, please let us know, now or in the future. I think that's something that would help support us. And from my understanding, there were some issues there with covering costs or other things for people who aren't in K-12. Is that right?
Yes, and I think you're right on spot. At this point, the federal government is starting to look at other types of apprenticeships that aren't necessarily Department of Education certified apprenticeships. So I see some changes coming in the next year or two where businesses will be able to set up their own apprenticeship program without all the paperwork and all the other things to go through. The key, though, is in our system, it has to be, whatever the certification is, it has to be transferable to somebody to be able to go in another state and take it with them and it have value. So as long as it does that, everything is good.
Very helpful. Thank you,
Thank
Jim,
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Proctor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. McShane, I want to thank you. I appreciate the leadership you've given workforce. Yours is a rising reputation for effectiveness. The number of partners that was shown to us through the Tri-County region and then South Georgia region and those memoranda of understanding which you share speaks to the broadness of your vision, and I really sincerely appreciate it. We have, under Commissioner Lindley's leadership, have sought to bring a lot of teenagers together, and we've had some stuff out there at TCC, and I think it's our apprentice program. Has there been synergy, your organization and that? Are they already overlapping? And I was just curious about the Leon Expo, I believe we call it. Is that what we call it, y'all? Our Expo program? Leon Works and your offerings?
We are fully engaged with Leon Works and working with TCC too. We work in their career center and we spend time there helping some of the youth that are looking at what do they want to do next. So yes, we have a good relationship with TCC, Lively, all of them actually, in McCullough and Gadsden County. So our goal is that education is the key to getting ahead, and how do we help our youth find their way through that. And I do appreciate the summer program has really helped, and our apprenticeship program here has really helped too.
I would be interested and would implore you, your board, and you may have the resources to be in a stronger position to assess and make the argument of how we might expand vocational educational training in our area. There seems to be reticence in our community to just lift vocational training to the level in which I think it ought to be. You said that you were limited in the 5 areas that were presented, and those are the areas that you would have to invest money in, the welding option, and those other categories. I think that your voice, your board's voice, I would love for you all to partake in leadership, in initiating a new quest forward, expansion of horizon. I mean, it can't be shame in choosing vocational careers.
No, and I think you're right on. That's the one thing that Shelley and I and Dan McGrew and when we meet on a regular basis, along with the OEV, our goal is really how do we get more of the parents to understand that this is really a good choice for their child and not a bad choice for their child. I think part of it is we need to get some of the data on when a child starts into an apprenticeship program. Number one, they're getting paid already. If the child is in college or university, they're not getting paid. They're going to go into a lot of debt. There's not a lot of debt, and if it's an apprenticeship, there's no debt. And they're going to start earning right away at 19 and 20 years old, where it's going to be 25 or 26 years old before they get out of college and earn. So I think there needs to be a study on what the earnings potential is, because an electrician and a plumber earn a lot of good money, and they'll be earning it before somebody gets out of their college time.
And not to hog the time, but, no one says it, and maybe your board can't, but there's a sense of preying upon a sense of shysterism. A lot of these kids are put 2 years into one of these little colleges and end up with $100,000 worth of debt, don't have nothing, and it's like going to the payday loan.
It is.
When you go to Trump University and these little shyster organizations, and they have you in more debt because you sign up for 4 years before you take the first year. You sign up for the whole package.
Yep.
And that is wrong. By the time they get busted and disgusted in this effort to go to one of these shyster universities, you find them, they come through the door, dreams are shattered, hearts are broken, debt's high, and no one is advancing. This is why I believe our need for a clarion call organization like yours, County Commission Understanding, because too many poor people's children are being wasted and put in debt through false pathways that ain't legit. So when I look through, for instance, the zip codes of through our primary health care report, and both Bond and Neighborhood have given us the zip codes in which their patients are coming from. I think they've done a thorough review, and this is apples and oranges. But there is something about patients who are coming to Bond Neighborhood and Neighborhood, which tells us also the correlating educational, work, unemployment, all of that is linked. I know that. You know that.
Yep.
But 32304 needs a special look. And I'm also asking as a second for your board, y'all, to please look at 32304, which has come to our board's awareness.
Yep.
Is Florida's most intensely impoverished zip code, coupled with being Florida's most inefficient at reading at the third grade level. So I've got a reading issue, I've got an employment issue, I've got a poverty issue lumped in 32304, which part of it is District 1, part of it is in the Chairman's District. We need help.
Yep.
And we don't like our districts being Florida's leader of poverty, illiteracy, and unemployment, and you name it. So given the crisis, the urgency of 32304, I'm just asking you, Mr. McShane, if you would, if your board could please make a special look at that area and the resources which we might bring to bear to assist you. That's an ask. I ask of you.
I'll be happy to carry that forward.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I have several commissioners, Commissioner Minor, then Commissioner Maddox, and Commissioner Lindley. Commissioner Minor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be real quick. Jim, I just want to thank you and your staff for everything that you do. Years ago, I think it was about the time that you started at CareerSource, I went through some of your programs and was very impressed. So I know you have a lot of challenges with state statutes and a lot of constraints, but you all do a great job, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be just as swift as Commissioner Minor. Rick, just want to say, again, you're doing a great job. I'm the board's representative to the consortium made up of 3 counties, ours, Gaston, and Wakulla. Have seen you grow our program by leaps and bounds, especially impressed with the way you've been able to expand on our partnerships throughout the county and really getting more people involved in the tuition programs and things like that. I did want to highlight one thing that you said, and this is more for the folks that are watching, the people that will watch this after this date, is that apprenticeship program cannot prosper without businesses agreeing to partner with us. And right now, we have none. It's such a good program. When you think about, where a kid can learn a trade early in their lives that can suffice for putting food on their family's table for years to come. But that program can't start without businesses signing up to be partners with CareerSource. And so if I'm wondering even if there's anything we can do in our PIO office or from an administrative standpoint to try to push that even more. Because as much incentives as we can give businesses to partner with CareerSource on this program, the more successful it's going to be. And then I have a long-term effect on our county financially when those young folks coming out of our high schools get out immediately, start to earn some money through those jobs. And even those kids that start out at a TCC or Florida State or FAMU decide that they want to jump into something like this, this is a career path that they could choose to take. But again, I keep reiterating it because I really want people to understand it can't happen unless businesses decide that they want to partner, sign up, and give a kid a chance to learn a trade through the apprenticeship program. So, Mr. Administrator, I don't even know if we've ever even broached the opinion of trying to, the thought of trying to do anything to help in this nature or in this way. But I'm wondering if there's any relief that we can give to try to get businesses. And when I say relief, I'm talking about through whether it be through PIO pushing this or OEV making some connections there or whatever we can do. I just feel like I think the program's been intact for how long now? How long has it been, Jim?
Yeah.
How long has it been intact, the program?
How long has it been what?
How long has the program been going?
This program,
The apprenticeship program?
our workforce program?
No, the apprenticeship part.
Oh, the apprenticeship? Well, it's been around for like 40 years, but in here, I guess the last one, from what I'm told, ended in sometime, I think it was Carpenters Union, or Carpenters Training, was sometime in 2008 is the last apprentice program that we had.
Right. So, I mean, it's been 10 years since we had something going. It's important to our young people that we get this going. So anything we do to help out, I would love to see us do it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, and you're a wonderful leader, and you are our chief elected official. One of the things that other counties have done is they've put into their contracts, when they have contracts with contractors, that the CareerSource system is a first source for being able to hire people. That means they do have to post in our system. Our system's free. It doesn't cost them anything, but what it does is it shows that the county is interested in making sure that people that are here locally get hired into those programs. I'd love to, I think I sent something over maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Miami-Dade's got it, and they've been doing that for quite a while. So I really would ask that you look at that program. It doesn't cost anything, but it does end up helping our business community realize that we're an entity that can help them fill those jobs.
Mr. Chair, I wouldn't mind having that come back as an agenda item and would make a motion to that effect.
Mr. Administrator? Yep, we'll bring it back as an agenda item?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I got a couple seconds.
Oh, okay. I didn't know the seconds.
Thank you, Mr.
Motion
Chair.
to bring it back as an agenda item in seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Right, passes. And we still have Commissioner Lindley, and then back to you, Commissioner Proctor.
Yes, sir.
You still have me. Thank you so much for coming forward. It does seem like the message that we need to get out is not so much to young people, but to adults.
Absolutely.
Not only the businesses, that we have no businesses in our community that are offering apprenticeships is something maybe they haven't thought about, but they definitely need to get on the case on that. Mm-hmm. And also parents. When we were first starting to get involved in trying to get the skilled trades more boosted up, I talked to Shelley Bell when she was principal at Godby High. Mm-hmm. And she told me stories of parents practically jumping over the table to strangle her when she said that their child was probably not college track, but had other interests that they would do very well in. And so a lot of parents feel that college is the one and only way, and it is not for everybody. As we know, it's not in a lot of ways. A lot of young people are just not interested in the academic track. So I appreciate so much your help in this. I hope we can get the message out. I know we have a new school board alignment, which I know the schools are interested in trying to increase their building trades education, or not building trades, but skilled trades education.
Right.
So it's so important. I mean, I do think we're kind of on a turning point here because the demand for jobs has suddenly just risen up as a huge problem in many, many arenas, not just nursing, but all of the others that you listed. So your work is really important, and I suppose you sometimes feel like you're in there all alone, but you're not. And we need more businesses involved. We need parents to get involved, and appreciate your coming forward and being kind of blunt with us, too. Thank you. We need it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Lindley. Commissioner Proctor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I believe that we can't afford for the train to leave the station and get left on this issue. I think Commissioner Maddox's comments provoked me lending a quick and further thought to the idea that we absolutely think about perhaps in our contracts with the county that we reward and incentivize apprenticeship. We do have a WMBE component. With WMBE, you get so many points. If you capture partnership or whatever. I think that though we don't have unions in our community, but if we were a community that had unions, oftentimes apprenticeship is a part of requirement for big buildings such as in, I know that Orange County absolutely required that young people in their communities were made a part of, in particular, big vendors who came from out of state. They had to have a local apprenticeship program to develop the talent of those areas. And I think that if this commission is open to it and we can tiptoe that far up the road with Commissioner Maddox's motion, that we might even consider and look around at some other counties and see how we can incentivize and give points for apprentice. One aspect. A second view that I'm hopeful that our board could embrace is we call our the Leon County Primary Health Program, one of our items, is recognized through the contracts that we share through independent contractors, Bond, Neighborhood, and Appalachia.
The FQHCs.
Yeah. Okay. We call that the Leon County Primary Health Program. So if we can contract through 3 people have nothing to do with us, but we give them some money and we call them the Leon County Program, why can't we step in this area and call y'all the Leon County Youth and all like that program, apprentice program, if y'all open to that. Now, we, someone mentioned it earlier, the Children's Services Council. Now, that thing is going to be operationalized with a sales tax, property tax, or one or the other.
Yeah.
Somehow, a tax will be associated with Children's Services Council. But my suggestion here is that we look at Children's Services. I'm sure is going to be looking at these zip codes that we got here. But the job thing, the apprenticeship thing, the vocational thing, it needs to be lifted to the same heights of which we are contemplating. Because if a child don't get on the bus, it's a small window in life that if your life don't get untracked and unfold, it's like you're going like this until you're 17, 18, 19, 20, and you fall off the cliff. And it's a dangerous spot that we're losing so many people. And by the time you are 22 and 3, ain't got no skills, y'all, curtain is pulled, your fate is determined, and them is the crucial years for what happens to people as they matriculate and become adults. It happens right in that period. That's why I also implore members of our dais that when this issue comes back, if Commissioner Maddox is open and this board is open to it, that we also set sights on our apprenticeship program It may not have a tax, as our children's services may suggest, but that we somehow lift it to the same level, institutionalize it, and allow for this agent and vendor to carry our water and flag in that regard. That's a suggestion, board members, unless there's if there's no objection, and commissioners open, I'd like for that to be a look of what we're looking at when it comes back.
So that would probably be then an amendment to the motion as voted on. To include that in the agenda item. All right. Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. McShane.
Thank you.
Jim, I'll be brief. I went to a presentation by Danfoss Turbo Corps yesterday.
Yes.
Amazing presentation. This is a company right here in town, Innovation Park, District 2.
Yes.
They are building and expanding a 40,000 square foot warehouse, and they are going to come in and train the teachers to work in a bearingless refrigeration and air conditioning compressor.
Correct.
The teachers will then in turn train these students, high school students and older. One of the young men that was with Danfoss Turbo Corps talked about the amount of money he was earning, which was much more than any of us here on the dais. Well, much more than I make. And also that he had traveled to 6 different countries using this incredible magnetic technology, working with compressors. And this was a kid that went to high school right here in Tallahassee, trained under Danfoss Turbo Corps, and now Lively is bringing that on board. It was a neat to see that we have a partnership like that and that you're a part of bringing those two entities together. So thank you for that effort.
Thank you. That is the key in the long run. You see that happening across the country. I saw it when I was in Central Illinois, that businesses start to realize that they're going to have to set up their own pipeline, and working with their local K-12 or their technical school is one way that if they invest in putting the equipment in there that's up to date, some of them even invest in sending their employees over there to train the people, and they pay their employees as working for them and not for the school system. Those are some of the things that people are doing in order to start to build that pipeline so they have enough people when the time comes for people to retire and be replaced. So, excellent. Thank you.
Thanks again, Jim. Mr. Administrator, moving to our consent agenda, are there any items to pull from the consent?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, you have 2 consent items pulled, items 6 and 15.
Move remaining consent by Vice Chair Deloge, seconded by Commissioner Dozier. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 With
August.
12 removed as well.
12 removed as well.
Yes.
All opposed? Passes. So we will move on to number 6.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, item 6 is the request to schedule a workshop on the Leon County Fairgrounds, was pulled by Commissioner Maddox.
Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Proctor, during the time between the time we asked for the item to be pulled, asked for the item to go to workshop, asked for a market study. And that market study to me was very thorough and sufficient as to the direction that we are looking at for the fairgrounds. And so with that being said, my end game here is to go to Blueprint and see about us maybe at some point elevating the fairgrounds project there. But I was satisfied with what I read of that report and feel like any monies that we get elevated or any money that we spend in Blueprint, that report would be sufficient enough to give us direction as to how it should be spent. And so with that being said, I'll make a motion for option number 2.
Is for option number 2, seconded by Commissioner Dozier. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes.
Point of information, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So Commissioner Maddox, you were suggesting that at the Blueprint meeting that the push is an immediate one for our meeting on Thursday. And I want to make sure that I'm understanding, because this takes it out of consideration for March 12th hearing. here as a workshop?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Proctor, maybe not the next meeting, because to be perfectly honest with you, we do have new commissioners. I would like to them to get through one meeting before we start having that depth of conversation of talking about switching up things on the list, but I do intend to bring it up at some point soon after that meeting. And again, my thoughts here is that the email that you requested and with the last market study gave us good direction on what could happen with the land and the way the money could be spent. And so I felt good about that piece of it. My reason for asking for the workshop is was to solidify some direction as to what we wanted to do as a board with the site. But I think, again, that market study gave us some good direction there, and I was satisfied with that. So that was my reason.
Okay, very, very good. I'm comfortable. I appreciate that.
Commissioner Deloge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Listen, I read the study, and I'm in agreement. I think, frankly, there's some things that should be done. I just am in a word of caution here, and there's some other ways we can get to the same place, which is what I am not willing to do is get to Blueprint and start to try and reprioritize. We spent years getting to this point with citizen input and with our input, and the problem is if you pull one card out and suddenly say, well, we want to reprioritize, you're going to have a mass rush, and it's going to all come tumbling down. My position on this would be there are other ways to get to where I think Commissioner Proctor would like to get to, which is what if the city, what if the county, what if Blueprint could make some minor changes without going through the reprioritization. I think we open up Pandora's box with that. I'm just real hesitant to start. So I'm with you in concept. I just don't like the idea of going in and saying, let's shuffle the deck. If you start down that road, you're not going to end. There's not a way to pull one out and try and reprioritize without everybody saying, well, wait a minute, what about me? So I'm just thinking there might be some other ways to get there, and maybe we could step up, maybe the city could step up, maybe Blueprint could tweak some things, but I'm just a word of caution there. And again, I'm one vote, I just one man's opinion for what it's worth. So if there's a different way to start the process, I know like on some of these, we've advance funded some of them, or we've pulled money out of reserves to do things. Maybe there's a way to start the walk without actually, I just worry, Commissioner Proctor, that when we open that door, you're going to see kind of a rush for everybody. Well, wait a minute, if we did the fairgrounds, what about this, what about this? And I think, especially with some of the newer commissioners who might not have been there in the prioritization process, they're going to feel, well, now's my chance to look for something in my district or that kind of thing. And it was, I mean, I know staff, this is a balancing act trying to make sure everybody gets something. Anyway, one man's opinion for what it's worth. Thanks.
Commissioner Proctor.
Thank you. I appreciate Commissioner Maddox's comments, and that is his sensitivity to new commissioners to get their feet wet, to get an orientation to this massive project of $12 million. And it's the kind of sensitivity and patience and waiting which this new city commission was not shown by its previous board, as city commissioners rushed to force that this new commission would have to grapple with a $60 million commitment for a police station. So, Nick, you're showing them a whole lot more consideration about this $12 million for the fairground than the city commissioners themselves showed their sensitivity toward new commissioners to acclimate to and they went on and committed their hands to a $60 million project, and they didn't have a word, and they were merely 2 weeks out from being elected. So I respect that, I understand that, and I can support your thoughts. With regard to your thoughts, Commissioner Deloge, which I respect as a process that you wouldn't want to do, reopen a process, and I wouldn't want to reopen a process either. I simply want to augment and to expand the canopy of projects which are there. And what drives my angst with respect to this is when I know the amount of money where Bannerman Road project came out of nowhere, and it came up 19 years sooner than was anticipated and projected by Blueprint. And it's on that list, and which is on the north side, which has a lot of development up in that corridor. I respect that development, voted for that development. withstood 27 lawsuits as a county commissioner to defend the right of developers to do what they're doing up there on Thomasville and Bannerman. I was a defendant in 27 lawsuits supporting the efforts and the energies there. But I'm also willing to take a lawsuit for the South Side. I'm just not willing to get a lawsuit up there and support the vision, dreams, expansion, and it occurs on my lifetime. But is there anyone here on this dais besides me who's willing to hope, dream, dare to think about something other than the 10 buildings that we have? See, it's not that I've not dared to step with expansion in other areas and visioning. I have. Record is clear. None have historically a stronger or longer record of support for development all over the community than I. I've been unable to gain declarative support from our commission. I'm asking for it. And I think that not to spoil the process, but to augment and to recognize that if we could make room for Bannerman, and we actually had a room full of people who came here and asked us to not include it, to not go there, but we did. And had they brought a lawsuit, I'm certain that we would have withstood because we are a proactive development council. So am I. But I also want development not segregated, but I want it to be universal. And so far, when you think of the universality of our development and support by this county where we've walked, what we have done, and what we've laid money down for, this project has been on 2 different pennies, sales tax, and it has not survived, and it ain't going to survive by languishing in the background right now. So those are my thoughts, and I hope that I've said very, very clearly that we allowed a new commission to fully acclimate to the fairground, but we ain't going to give the new commissioners time to acclimate to the police building. We want to give millions of dollars to Bannerman. It's on that road, and it's never been on that project list. The fairground has survived 2 cycles of citizens voting for it, and it just can't get started. And I think that we're able to chew bubblegum for the north side, and we're able to walk and talk for the south side as well. We have a task, commissioners, to be able to provide, if we were parents, for all of our children. And we have to provide for all of our regions. And I think that we have the collective, we have the brain power here to do this. I think I saw in one of the items, the grant item, that Vince, I don't want to misspeak, but that we've leveraged $131 million of grants for our community through the use of dollars, and our match is something like 12 or 14 to 1, if I read it correctly. And through that creative thrust, our staff is brilliant. There are grant dollars out there. If we're not entitled, though the people voted twice, if we're not entitled, if we can't get no blueprint money, if the sales tax money we're not good enough for, then I ask this gracious and great county commission, can we please, ma'am and sirs, be afforded some grant dollars? As you said, an alternative approach. But for God's sake, don't leave us stranded with no indoor bathrooms for another generation of children. That seems unfair. And when we see areas that have never existed come to life, I love those desserts at Mom and Dad's, man. Have you been up there, man? You got to get some desserts at Mom and Dad's Italian restaurant. But it came out of nothing and has risen to something. I want some dessert down at the fairground as well. I appreciate you, commissioners. You guys are the bestest. You're golden. And I know that you have the minds to conceive, and I hope that you have the hearts to relieve me of the hope of developing the fairground.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor. Mr. Administrator, item 15.
Item 15, Commissioners, is a status report on building permit timeframes on new single-family residential construction. This was pulled by Commissioner Dozier, and we have DSEM on staff to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. County Administrator, I assume we have no speaker cards. You would have noted it if we had, correct? Okay. So, Commissioners, I pulled this item from our reorg agenda. It was something that was a result of a previous item back in October. We had some comments from Tallahassee Builders Association folks, and I've also been told that Mr. Doug Barton, who spoke that day, has been invited to join our Citizens Committee as well, and I spoke with him. He's excited about that. So you may receive an email from him. He was not able to attend today, so I'm just letting you know that he may have other comments on this. But for my purposes today, I wanted to say a couple of things. One, this is a great report. And Barry, I see you standing in the back, and I appreciate you and all DSEM's staff, the work, David, others, on trying to streamline the permits in general and look at all of the different issues within our permitting process. I think we've had very constructive conversations, and this report really drilled down to some of those details that I get questions about, I'm sure others get questions about, so thank you for that. It was really good to see the analysis of how and why some permits take longer than others, and I think that will help me when I'm addressing these questions at various meetings and with other constituents, so I hope that was helpful for everyone. I do think there is an opportunity, and we keep bringing this up, we brought it up several times yesterday, with our new city colleagues, and it does strike me, I'm not introducing this for today, but our Mayor Daley, sitting on this commission in my first year, talked about functional consolidation of growth management. That's been a really long time conversation, I think maybe going back 28 years or so, Vince, or Mr. County Administrator, forgive me. So it's been a very long time. We've done a lot of those, we've done a lot of things that would have been necessary to functionally consolidate, even though we haven't gotten there and being in the same building. But there is one piece that keeps standing out, and you've heard this a lot, I know our staff has, that is the utilities, and particularly septic and sewer, whether it's Department of Health or with the city. That can hold up our permits sometime. So I would like to ask Mr. County Administrator that we add this either to a mayor chair meeting or reach out to the city to see if there's a way to coordinate with them better now and in the future. I think our staff would wants that to happen. I think the business community does. We all do. So I really hope there's an opportunity to move that ball forward. And I really like what you all have already suggested of giving people a heads up when they apply for permits on what is expected if they're working with other entities. So thank you for all of that. One question, Mr. County Administrator, I'm not sure if this is for you or for staff, but I noted that in the dual track permit review, it mentions development. And I didn't know if that was larger scale developments or single permits as well. Could you or someone speak to that?
Mr. Administrator.
Yes, David or Barry, they can make their way up. I'm sure they can weigh in on the nuance there.
And to answer your question, yes, we will make sure that's part of the agenda items and subsequent mayor chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think you're going to have a good conversation about that one.
All right.
Good evening, Commissioner. It's both. It's large-scale development. We do the dual track. We do the environmental permitting as well as site planning. And then building permits, when they come in, they're split. They go to environmental. They're reviewed concurrently, environmentally with the building plans review.
They are concurrent?
Yes.
Okay. That's a question I get asked a lot, so thank you. I just noted that in the item. So with that, the idea of knowing before you apply, there was a lot of those things, David, that you had to return, you had to ask the applicant to give you more information. I mean, there are always problems they need to correct. Not always, I shouldn't say that. There are often, those problems on a plan or they need to update something. But submitting additional information, are you pretty clear, do we have a good approach to letting people know what they need to turn in for various types of permits? Have we been modifying that?
It's been pretty consistent. The changes have been in the Florida Building Code. That's where most of the requests for additional information, there were changes in the 2016 or 2017 Florida Building Code that dealt with wind analysis, other types of things. Those are the common issues that we're having to ask for additional information for. We think this is probably this agenda item has brought to light a great opportunity for us to meet with the contractors and go over some of the commonly missed pieces of information that we need, maybe a brown bag lunch at our place, or maybe even co-sponsor something with TBA to do that and to discuss that with the contractors.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
You anticipated my next question, and that is one of the concurrent review and this piece of it are two of the biggest or most common questions that I hear. I know you guys hear them as well. I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah, we did that with environmental staff, did that with the building community, and we got really very positive feedback on that.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, I appreciate all of your efforts, and I anticipated we'd have some other comments, but I think the lack of citizen comments this time is a good indication that the report did what we had hoped. So thank you very much for that. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'll move staff recommendation.
It's been moved and second. Before we vote, Commissioner Proctor, you're in queue.
Well, Commissioner Dozier was reading my mind. This is an excellent report, and I frankly enjoy when complicated issues are intellectualized and made simple, and this report does that for me. It mentioned the septic tanks as one of those factors which is part of the send-back. What I was curious about, and I imagine in my district, and I imagine possibly in the chairman's district, the notion of the flooding zone and how the flooding zone regulations and this and that, and oftentimes people are unaware that what they're proposing is in the new 100-year flood zone. I just really don't even know right now. Seems like insurance companies know, but I really don't know where the new 100-year flood zone lies, and if and to what extent it plays a role or impediment to or lengthening the time of permit. And that part was not captured, but no flies on it. It's just the curiosity of me, and I would love, beyond today, not to take up any time, but to hear or speak with you, David, about this 100-year floodplain and what it does to stymie development. So those are my comments. And I'm willing to talk with Mr. McDivitt beyond here and now about that.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor. So it's been moved to accept status report by Commissioner Dozier, seconded by Vice Chair Deloach. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously. I believe that brings us to the close of the consent items. Mr. Administrator, are there any citizens to be heard on non-agenda items at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have three citizens who have filled out speaker cards. The first, Chris Rito.
Good evening. I'm Chris Rito. I'm the Executive Director of the Appalachia Regional Planning.
I'm sorry. Please state your address for the record.
1107 Kenilworth Road.
Thanks.
I just wanted to come by and thank the Commission for the consideration of the Appalachia Regional Planning Council's letter that basically requests future coordination on the Solar and Energy Loan Fund. It's a program that I think would truly benefit Leon County and especially the region, especially after Hurricane Michael. And really what I just wanted to clarify is the name's a little bit misleading. It's a Solar Energy and Loan Fund, and that is its sole purpose, and there's information in your agenda package on it, so I'm not going to delve into the details. But from the Regional Planning Council's perspective, we're looking at this as a program that could really help low and moderate income homeowners that were impacted by the storm in the region by providing unsecured loans to homeowners to help repair their homes. If you haven't been 30 miles west of Tallahassee or Leon County to see how bad things really are, I'd strongly encourage you to do so. It's bad. If you drive over to Marietta or Bluntstown or Sneeds or any of the small communities 30 miles west of here, there are a lot of homeowners that have damage to their homes that the check that they're going to receive from FEMA, or if they didn't have insurance, it's not going to cut it. So the SELF program is a great program that would actually augment the county's PACE program and potentially provide relief to these homeowners. So just wanted to come by, say thank you for your consideration on this, and we look forward to working with staff in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no commissioners in queue, we will go on to our next speaker. Please state your name and address for the record.
The next speaker is Stanley Sims.
Reverend Sims, how are you this afternoon?
How you doing? Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Stanley Sims. I'm at 1320 Avondale Way. I want to say congratulations to you, Commissioner Rick Minor. I'm very pleased to have you sitting there in that seat and expecting great things from you. I came by this afternoon because I am just very excited about your goals and objectives for this commission. One of those goals and objectives, I want to say to the county administrator, you have done an outstanding job in creating an atmosphere where every citizen from every walk of life feels like they are important in this building. That not only comes from you, but it also comes from your staff. And I think that being one who is very outspoken, I also need to be very outspoken when someone exceeds your expectation of good quality. And so to see on your agenda for your goals of this coming year is to do a better job than what you're already doing. I was compelled to come down and tell you thank you. There's another thing of one of your objectives that I also would like to give a little direction and a little guidance. I saw that one of those initiatives is where you are taking the leadership and going outside of the box and being proactive about engaging 1.6 million individuals who are like me, formerly incarcerated. But there is one step that local government, Mr. County Administrator, always overlook unintentionally. They get good people with good hearts that don't live the life of who they're trying to change. And so I'm asking that you get good people with good hearts who've made bad mistakes and bring them to the table. And we need what we call an education component. May I have just 15 seconds and I can close up?
Sir, go ahead and finish your thought.
An education component, Commissioner, Chairman, because being one who is proactively involved in this movement, there are a lot of distortions out there. So a part of that component needs to be an education component as to what is really true and what is really a distortion. Thank you for your time. Did I just say everything you wanted me to say, Vince?
You did.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Just the way I wrote it down.
Vince, you wrote that speech?
Mickey Britt.
Good afternoon, Mr. Britt. State your name and address for the record. It's good to see you.
My name is Mickey Britt. I reside at 4407 Millwood Lane, Tallahassee, Florida. And I'd like to thank the chairman for giving me a little extra time. That's very courteous of you. I hope that you and your members here will take the torch because I want to pass it on. And I hope you take it and run with it like a scalded dog. I'm here with a purpose. I know I'm an American citizen that thinks and loves my country, but I did not stand up and pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America for a reason, not to be unpatriotic, but quite the other side, to be patriotic. I can't in good conscience stand here and give a lie and say liberty and justice for all. And we got more people in prison in the United States than any place in the world. In the world. 1/4 of the prison population of the world is right here in our own country. And we say we have liberty. And then justice is, if you're poor, you're in world of hurt. If you're rich, that's the way it goes. So that's what is making me lead up to what I'm here for. The drug laws, sir, has caused more people to be in prison in this country than any place else. We don't have that many million people in this country. We're not a bad country. We have bad laws. And every law must have a purpose. And what does the drug law purpose for possession be? 3 answers. 1, to keep me from harming me. 2, to keep me from harming you. 3, to make private prisons rich. All of them violating the Constitution. The Constitution got all kind of amendments protecting our rights. And not one time do you see the words liberty except. There is no exceptions to liberty. None. And we have abused it and let our legislatures take our freedom away from us unconstitutionally. Now then, we had prohibition, sir, and alcohol. Oh Lord, it was terrible. It was just beyond belief, and that went on for years. Crime, murder, alcohol everywhere. And they said, let's repeal this and tax it. And the teetotalers that never drank a drink ain't never to this good day paid 1 penny of the taxes on alcohol. Now crime went down. Alcohol use, I can't say went down and didn't do, but we now have happy hour. Buy one, get one free, and the country's doing pretty darn good. It's amazing how we went from it was the worst thing in the world to we ain't doing bad. Now, our drug laws, if you will see, and this is a fact, the moment the government says we're going to impose a war on drugs, crime and drug use goes up parallel.
Mr. Britt, 30 seconds, bring it in for a landing.
Can you give me a little bit more, just a little bit more time, Mr. Jackson?
Wasting your 30
All right, well, let's get off the drug then. I want to go on and tell you the other reason I'm here. The national debt is the biggest problem that we have. We should impeach every congressman and senator or whatever's had in office for 6 years or more because they took an oath to uphold the Constitution and had the responsibility of the general welfare of the country, and they let us go bankrupt. If they was a private firm and had that fiduciary responsibility, they would have been fired and sued. So get rid of them. And they have violated their oath and failed in their duties. And I told y'all how to save the country, and that's free the people from prison that hadn't done anything but possession, because they have a right to put anything in their body, and the government don't have a right to tell them they can't. The government has a right to say if you then harm somebody in society, you go to prison. We don't put people in prison in a free country for what they might do. Then we free all number, then we're going for. By freeing these people, 70% of the prisons would be shut down, saving trillions of dollars. Trillions. Now the people that got free, we pardoned them, they go out and get jobs. Now they're paying taxes. That's more money coming into the till. We are able to then legalize all drugs and tax them just like they did with alcohol, pay down Social Security, no problem, entitlement programs, no problem, pay down the national debt, and the people that don't do drugs ain't never going to pay one penny. We're not going to raise nobody's taxes a penny. I equate this the same as if I had been on a cliff, fell off the cliff, got my hand hung between two rocks. I have a choice. I stay there and hang and die, or I cut my hand off and live. The government's time is now to cut the hand off and do what's right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Britt. Thank you.
He's a member of Commissioner Maddox's district.
Proud member of that
Absolutely.
district. Proud
Absolutely.
member. Thank you, Mr. Britt.
All right, moving on to general business. Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, this item seeks board acceptance of the Orange Avenue Corridor Investment Report that was requested by the board. It also seeks your acceptance of a status report on the Blueprint 2020 Orange Avenue Meridian Street project and interim placemaking improvements. TJ Lewis from our planning department is on deck and prepared to provide an overview for you all, a presentation, and we have no speakers on this item.
I have a commissioner in queue to speak. So, Mr. Lewis, my good friend, Mr. TJ Lewis, good to see you again.
Good to see you. Mr. Chair, if I might, while he's coming up, want to welcome Mr. Lewis to the Leon County and Planning Department family. I actually talked to him shortly after he got the job. We are very, very lucky and very pleased to have you, sir. I mean, because it's your first time, I want you to go through the process of giving us this presentation, but I am ready to make a motion for a staff recommendation. But yes, please, give us your presentation, and I'll hold my motion to the end. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner, you're trying to baptize him by fire? Or
By fire.
By fire.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
We have a motion to accept. Do I have a second? Didn't you make the motion?
Yes, I made the motion.
I'll second that.
Okay.
But, Mr. Chair, I would like to hear the presentation.
Oh, we are. We're going to hear Mr.
Okay,
Lewis.
okay.
All right. Well, thank you all for having me here today. Yes, at the June 19th, 2018 regular meeting, the board directed staff to bring back a comprehensive review of development and capital improvements along the Orange Avenue corridor. This item seeks acceptance of the Orange Avenue Corridor Investment Report, which should be included in your agendas. It features public and private sector projects that have recently been completed or are currently underway. And it highlights the significant initiatives and investments that are encouraging quality land use and redevelopment activities within the corridor. Also, in this item, as requested by the board at the November 20th, 2018 meeting, this item seeks board acceptance of a status report on the Blueprint 2020 Orange Avenue Meridian Street project and interim placemaking improvements. All right, so the economic priorities set forth in Leon County's fiscal year 2017-21 strategic plan is for Leon County to be an effective leader and a reliable partner in our continuous efforts to make Leon County a place which attracts and retains talent, to grow and diversify our local economy, and to realize our full economic vitality. Included in this priority is to do well-designed public infrastructure which supports business, attracts private investment, and has long-term economic benefits. While the results of this priority can be seen across the county, they are especially visible in the Orange Avenue corridor. I'll just point at this map here. All these colors represent various initiatives and planning designations. It's evident by this map that this commission, this community has made the revitalization of the Orange Avenue corridor, the south side, a big priority. We'll move on. You should have a copy of this report in your agenda. This is the Orange Avenue Corridor Investment Report. It provides a brief overview of recent and planned improvements in the Orange Avenue South Side area, including renderings and proposed projects and snapshots of their progress. Many of these projects are an extension of, or can also be attributed to, the significant infrastructure investments made previously, including the widening of Orange Avenue from South Monroe Street to Blairstone Road in 2004 by the county, and the subsequent widening of Orange from Blairstone Road to Capitol Circle. The report includes 61 major projects that highlight infrastructure and institutional developments aiming to address environmental protection, healthcare, housing, education, economic development, and the Southside's transportation network. Collectively, these improvements will significantly enhance the corridor's outlook for future residential and commercial development and better position it for future population growth. The Tallahassee-Leon County Comprehensive Plan encourages projects and activities that provide significant additive value to the Southside community, an area geographically centered around Orange Avenue. As shown, the Orange Avenue corridor runs a length of approximately 8.6 miles through southern Leon County from Capitol Circle West to its eastern terminus within Southwood at Southwood Plantation Road. All right, so Tallahassee-Leon County Planning Department staff regularly monitors land use trends for consistency with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan, the economic development strategic plan, the blueprint funding plan, and related board directives. Planning has estimated that the public and private investment we see along the Orange Avenue corridor totals roughly $1.27 billion, with private investment following where public investments have been completed. This table here somewhat highlights it. It serves as a timeline of projects that have been completed and are slated to come within the next 1 to 2 years, 3 to 5 years, and 6 years and beyond. As you can see, we've got quite a bit to look forward to. So, I'm sorry. You want to look at that a little longer? Well, these are all touched on in the report that you've got in your agenda from pages, I believe, 3 through 29. So you have the details there. We'll look at the public investments. First, the trends here that we see in the report are primarily due to major transportation infrastructure, such as the future expansion of Orange Avenue, Capitol Circle Southwest, and the proposed airport gateway, as well as many underground utility and neighborhood infrastructure improvements. There are also improvements planned by our major educational institutions, such as FAMU, Florida State for its Southwest campus, and Leon County Schools, with improvements done at the Gene Cox Stadium, Fairview Middle School, and Rickards High School. The expansion of our greenways and trails system, and the planned Tallahassee Police Department public safety campus on the south side. For private investment, the trends include apartments of all types, subsidized apartments, market rate apartments, and luxury apartments. There's also a development in the senior and assisted living facilities, and we've also had health and medical facilities that we've monitored. In summary, the anticipated public and private investments observed in the Orange Avenue Corridor Investment Report will result in improvements to over 672 acres of land. You'll see more than 33 miles of combined roadway, utility, sidewalk, trail additions, and over 1.6 million square feet of improvements in new or remodeled institutional, commercial, and residential space. The report demonstrates the major improvements to public infrastructure within the South Side Orange Avenue area by government at all levels, and a commitment to improving education through the long-term investments underway or planned by FSU, FAMU, and Leon County schools. As a result of these planned improvements, interest in residential offerings and private sector economic development is trending upward through the corridor. And for specific details on the projects and the specs on the projects listed in the report, see page 30. There's an appendix which somewhat summarizes everything there. And then moving on to the second part of the presentation, we're going to do a quick snap at the Orange Avenue Meridian Street placemaking project. It's a status report, which includes an overall project description and budget update for our newly proposed interim improvements that are proposed for the future Star Metro Superstop site, which is located at the northwest corner of Orange Avenue and Meridian Street. So as you may know, there's a $4.1 million project to create a Star Metro Superstop on that northwest corner of Orange and South Meridian. This is a 3-component project. One of the components is a stormwater, or improvements to the stormwater ditch, which is north of the proposed site. The second part is the conversion of the existing Orange Avenue stormwater pond into a community park. And the third is the creation of the Star Metro Transit Super Stop, shown in the picture, which will provide safe and pleasant facilities as customers wait to catch and connect to routes. So it includes sheltered bus bays, as shown, covered walkways, and restroom facilities. You can think of this as a miniature CK Steel Plaza for the South Side. While that project is not yet set to begin, we've got some interim plans in place. It says $300,000 investment. Building on community feedback we received, there's a proposal to create a pop-up park, and it supports neighborhood activities. And this project has various components that I'll read out here. So they'll clear the property, remove and install new vegetation, designate pedestrian paths, parking locations, and vendor areas to support marketing activities, add trash and recycling bins to maintain the appearance of the site. They'll also add other park-like features, including a water fountain, public seating, a book sharing station, light poles and fixtures, and a kiosk to provide information on the status of the proposed Star Metro Super Stop we just talked about, and community neighborhood activities. The sidewalks along Orange Avenue and Meridian Street will be widened consistent with the Multimodal Transportation District standards. Sidewalks will be installed along Polk Drive, which is north of the site, and pedestrian crosswalks will be enhanced. Staff will also request law enforcement to increase patrol activity for the site commensurate with active uses. The majority of the improvements recommended for the interim project can be installed in the weeks following the approval, and you'll discuss this project in more details this Thursday at your IA board meeting. And with that, I conclude the presentation. If you've got any questions, I'd be happy to take them from you.
Yeah, I think every commissioner's no, actually, it's Commissioner Proctor and then Commissioner Minor.
I have spoken a lot. I'm defer to Commissioner Minor, and I'd like to follow him.
All right, then Commissioner Minor, then Commissioner Proctor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. TJ, I just want to congratulate you on working at the county. When I heard about that, I had to smile.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I've met and known TJ for a couple of years.
Yes.
And very talented, and I'm very happy to have you here. So
happy to be here. Thank you.
Also, just quickly on the Orange Avenue improvements, I wanted to just let everybody know how impressed I was with all the work that has been done over all this time. I'm coming into this midstream, but to see this when it's been needed for so long, and to see with such gusto coming to improve the Orange Avenue, it's really, really good news. I drive on Orange Avenue every day, every workday, and I see it, and very, very welcome, very great improvements. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank both Commissioner Maddox and Commissioner Minor for your presence last Tuesday night at Bethel AME Church, where we had a South Side come together community conversation. And it was, had it not been in God's house, it could have got a little rowdy, because School Board Member Darrell Jones and our OEV, one of our officials there, was making the presentation about Orange Avenue, and I simply told the community the next 15 years, roughly, Orange Avenue will become the new Tennessee Street of the South Side. And it created great consternation, and, the widening and traffic and activities from Florida State on the southwest side of Orange Avenue all the way back to the new military health there at the top of the hill.
VA Center.
Apartments. Yeah. And it created great consternation and uproar. And it was so bad that Commissioner Maddox had to try to come save me, It was a bad situation. And Mr. Jones was presenting and doing exactly what you're doing here and trying to tell this to members from all over the South Side. And I'm thinking, and I left the dais to talk to Mr. Jones and with the county administrator, and we haven't met, but recognizing the public reaction. We really need to put this information in a brochurized, if that's a word, in a booklet that allows the public to know, because there was anguish and anger about this and a sense of feeling surprised by. So in light of this information, which, I mean, people just got mad at me, and I didn't do all this by myself. Some of it I did, but just for them to hear about it. And I think that to get ahead of the curve, we need to put this in a brochure, because y'all seen what happened last week.
Yeah.
And I don't think we should spring it.
Yeah.
We need to bring it now, ease it out, trot it out, and it should be a part of one of the tools that we have in our toolbox to present. And when we meet again on January 24th, from 6 to 8 at Bethel AME Church Fellowship Hall, it's going to be a larger crowd. We may have to do it in the sanctuary, but I'm asking if Brother Jones, if you and Mr. Lewis can join forces, and maybe we can get something printed that these people won't be as upset. It's very important that we inform them. So, was there a motion made?
I mean,
So, included in the motion is a public information that we put a document together.
Yes.
So that
Definitely.
he won't get attacked, and you won't get attacked, and I won't get attacked. But this is a great report. Vince, I want to commend you. And it was some good work put together in this book. And I don't like reading the book when it's not at tip top. Man, you guys are soaring above the rim in this particular, the one that Dozier cited, the work by our staff. You have to say it when it's true. The work by staff and their effort is very good tonight. I'm glad to be at the dais tonight. This ain't no Rudy Poo place, man. This is a great place to be when the work comes to you so wonderfully well packaged. And it's well enough that I think that we can take it, and if OEV is willing to run the ball and inform our community, we got to do it, because otherwise they're going to be very mad.
Okay, so I think the motion would be to move for option 1 and 2, and also to include a promotional public information packet. All right. That motion was made and second, well, the original motion was made and seconded by Commissioner Dozier. I do have Commissioner Maddox and Commissioner Minor in queue to speak.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate what Commissioner Proctor said, and that there was some frustration in the room that night, and a lot of it had to do with just safety concerns, the uncertainty of the uncertain, of knowing what is this going to look like, what's going to be the safety measures taken, how is it going to function, that kind of thing. And so to get ahead of the game is exactly what we need to do, and what Commissioner Proctor is saying, because I don't think anybody on the South Side wants to turn down $1.27 billion of improvement. But at the same time, I think they want to know exactly what that $1.27 billion of improvement is going to look like. I would parallel it to somebody saying we're going to do some improvements to your house, but we don't necessarily want you to say what those improvements look like. We're just going to do it, and then first thing you get to see is when you get there to the house. So just to do this public information campaign would be an amazing thing. I think it would help calm some of the things that we heard the other night, Commissioner Proctor. And again, I want to thank you for having that town hall and giving us the opportunity to hear those folks out. I think that sparks the flame that gets these kind of things going when it comes to public information and things of that nature. Commissioner Proctor, I was going to say that I was wondering why you were dressed so festive, but boy, when I looked at this agenda, again today, I understood completely why you had on that green shirt and that red tie. It's Christmas for you up here today.
Well, it makes you step up to the occasion when the agenda is tight and right. You try to look the part, to meet it.
Yeah, I'm very proud to make this motion, very proud of the work that Commissioner Proctor has done to get us to this point, and look forward to that $1.27 billion of investment on Orange Avenue in the South Side, and just the growth that we're going to see in that area. But just to reiterate what Commissioner Proctor said in the message we got loud and clear from the folks at that town hall. They want to be involved. They want to know what it's going to look like. They don't want to hear about it, not even from us. They want to be involved from you guys. And when the pictures go down, they want to say, I put that bench right there, or I said I like that tree right there, rather than seeing it last second and not being able to say those things. So, Commissioner Proctor, thank you for making that point.
Thank you, Commissioner Maddox. Commissioner Minor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 3 quick points, real quick points. I think, first of all, Commissioner Proctor, thank you for having us at that town hall. I saw a lot of great feedback from folks. I think the education component is key. As we talked about at yesterday's strategic planning session, citizen input is key along the way, so that people who are in those neighborhoods along Orange Avenue have input in how their neighborhoods are being improved. And then the third thing, which I came close to mentioning at the town hall, Commissioner Proctor, was whenever you invest in a property or whenever you have large investments like this, it has a two-edged sword, right? Because you're worried about the people who live there being subjected to gentrification. So while, I don't think anyone here is saying that the investments should be seen in a negative light at all, but one thing that we always need to keep in mind is also having a commensurate investment in our workforce development and in our overall education. Because the best way to mitigate gentrification is when you invest in the folks who are there as well.
Amen.
So that comes to just what we were talking about before with Mr. McShane. As we invest in Orange Avenue, in any place, we have to keep in mind that the best way to help out with someone's economic situation is to help them get a job and help them get the education and the skills development to help them get that job. And so this is a great report. It's very impressive. It's sorely needed. We've needed it for a long time. But as we talked about just 20 minutes ago, we need to continue to invest and look for ways to invest in our workforce too, in our education. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Proctor,
Chairman, I have
one more
one
time,
quick-
then
quick,
Commissioner Dozier and Commissioner Maddox.
remark, and that is that in looking at the map that was presented, I would like to request if the county administrator and our chairman, that trailer park on the same side of the street as King Food Store at Meridian in Orange, heading north, there's a little problem area, and it used to be a little trailer situation, and there are issues going on up in there, and it's the city's property. And as we're looking at that corner on the lot which we hold and own, we need to take care of and modify activities in the city. So I want to ask if you, Mr. Chairman, would please bring, as we're looking at this plan, we can't fix this side of the street and leave the other side broken. And it would just undermine what we are trying to transform. So I ask if you could consider bringing that to the mayor's meeting when you guys get
Yes, sir.
get
Duly
together.
noted.
I want to thank, Mr. Chairman, driving by that area, and I bumped into Vince, Allen, and Ben Pingree were out there on site speculating as to what were the possibilities. And it made my heart feel real good to see county staff, the bigs, they didn't send them, but the bigs were there themselves, and that they were out there on that wonderful day. I really want to thank them to see them on site looking there. Dr. Tucker, Bill, NAACP was at our town hall meeting. Thank you guys for focusing and helping us. And the next meeting is going to be on the 24th of January, which is a Thursday. And hopefully you will be there, because you're going to get even a broader report than what we attempted to do the other night where everybody got mad. The other side, Commissioner, what you're saying is not only the issue of gentrification poses a problem, but another side of that sword is that property values increase so dramatically that the people who live there and indigenous to the neighborhood can no longer afford to stay there. And you improve it beyond their means and abilities. So you're absolutely right. Jobs and the ability to stay there because you can afford to is very important. So you need those jobs that they're able to stay in improved conditions. Mr. Chairman, this has been a great meeting. I don't want to, I heard Commissioner Deloge once say that you could call him anything, but he didn't want to be called late to supper.
Right.
And I don't want to offend his sensitivities in this regard.
And we're going to push ahead, and
Yes, sir.
we'll break after item 18.
Yes, sir.
Based on the full agenda and the number of items left. Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Quickly, TJ, welcome to the department. This is quite an item to present first, so well done. And I appreciate the discussion. I just wanted to mention two very quick things. One, I believe I'm right that the CRA board, now the full city, will take up the conversation of the Bond neighborhood next week. And I think there's been a citizen committee. Ms. County Administrator, I'm not sure if our Department of Place has been involved in that, but it gets to the question of gentrification and trying to make sure we do neighborhood improvements in a way that enhances the quality of life for those who live there, and not, for example, in that area, turn it over to student housing. So I'm glad you brought that up, Commissioner Minor and Commissioner Proctor. I would love for us to have a update on whatever that planning effort is once it comes out of the CRA. Mr. County Administrator, I'm not sure if we need to add that to a motion, but even if it was just a status update, it is so all of these issues overlap, and I think keeping abreast of what they're doing at the CRA for that neighborhood would be very helpful. So do we need that as part of the motion, or? Yeah.
Add it to the agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner Maddox. And as a second, I'm good with that. The second piece was, and I'm not sure if I'm seeing the numbers right, but in our first agenda item, there's the number of public meetings. There was a summary that Department of Place offered in the last year, or a couple years, 42 public meetings. This is a perennial issue with, and I'm glad you all were at the meeting last week. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be there, but I think brainstorming as we go forward, Mr. County Administrator, with Commissioner Minor's addition to our strategic initiatives yesterday, our ongoing efforts to engage more citizens. I think from Blueprint to others, we've seen a lot of efforts take place. There's always an issue with getting people to come out early in a process. We know that. So I just wanted to recognize that you all have done more than 40 meetings in the last year, and that is great. We need to figure out if there are other ways to do that or communicate those things and to help. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. We still need to have a full vote. We have a motion for option 1 and option 2 to include a public information packet. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
That motion also include the amendment stated by Commissioner Dozier as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for the clarification. Item 18, Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, as directed by the board at your September 4th meeting, this agenda item provides an update and analysis on the street naming process, including the renaming or the potential renaming of Orange Avenue to Barack Obama Boulevard. This item was continued from your October 23rd meeting. As discussed on the 23rd, this item includes alternatives and seeks board direction on this issue, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have. We do have several speaker cards on the item.
All right, we'll start by hearing our speakers. Mr. Administrator.
First speaker, Dr. Connie Evans.
Dr. Evans, your name and address for the record.
Good evening. I'm Connie Evans, and I live at 851 Circle Drive, have for the past 40-plus years, although I don't look it.
Amen. Come on, everybody. Amen.
I am indeed happy to be able to come this afternoon to speak to you all my friends on this issue. I'm not sure where you stand on the naming of Barack Obama Boulevard in Tallahassee, Florida. I'm not sure where you stand at all, but I would like to share with you where I stand. President Obama was the first African-American president in our nation that was very, very important to African-American people, us especially, because it's a historic civil rights event. I'm not so sure that I would take a president and name a piece or a portion of a street in Leon County after him. So I'm here simply to say, let's not go for a name just to have a name. Let's get a significant place. And if we can't find a significant place or a street to name Barack Obama Boulevard, then let's ditch it. Okay? Because he was not a second-class president, and we, with our universities and the number of African Americans, do not deserve to have a second-class boulevard named after him. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Evans.
Next speaker, William Tucker.
Mr. Tucker, name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Bill Tucker. I'm the chair of the Political Action Committee at the Leon County branch of the NAACP. I live at 2802 Primrose Lane, Tallahassee, Florida. I, too, feel that we should make a significant effort to name a street. I just saw that Old Dixie Highway in Riviera Beach has been named after Barack Obama. And in fact, 1998, the legislature named the Florida Turnpike after Ronald Reagan, which is a significant street. There are 11 roads and highways in the state, in the country, named after Obama. 5 of them are in this state alone. That's in Riviera Beach, Orlando, Palm Beach, Opelika, and then just recently Gadsden County, right next door to us, named a street after Obama. I think that we should name a significant street. I noticed that I think you were considering a couple of them named after. You should have a street that will have a big sign on it, not some street. I saw one street that was kind of considered. I thought I heard it was Franklin Boulevard. Is that true? Not? Okay, good. Because it's a very short street, only a half a mile long. And we thought a couple of other streets. There are 4 or 5 other states that have named streets after Obama: California, Illinois, Indiana, and Missouri. And this county needs to get on board and do the same thing that Dr. Evans had just talked about. Name a significant street, a street where a sign will be held up so that people will see it. Any side street will have just a street sign and not much. If you look at that street in Riviera Beach, Old Dixie Highway, which has an infamous history, you'll see a big sign over the road so that people will see it. And we don't want to do less here. Thank you very much.
Next speaker, Bill Eichhofer.
What was that? Oh.
Bill Eichhofer, 3125 Park Lawn Street, Tallahassee, Florida. I am here as a member of the NAACP. I'm a director. DeLacy will state our official position. I'd like to commend Commissioner Proctor for bringing this issue up to honor this great man. Remember that Barack Obama served for 8 years with honor and integrity. And the way this country is going now, I'm sure all of you can appreciate that. He is a symbol of hope to us that we can live together in unity. I know many of you know my daughter. You know she's biracial. And I remember when she was growing up, the things she would come home and say, she would have comments made to her about the color of her skin. Both sides. And when Barack Obama was elected president, it gave her hope and pride. And I ask you to honor this man. Thank you.
Final speaker, Delatry Hollinger.
Good evening. I'm here on behalf of the Executive Committee of the Tallahassee branch of the NAACP to endorse the renaming of Spring Hill Road to President Barack Obama Boulevard. The item was already delayed at the October 23rd meeting to provide additional citizen time and comment. It's been almost 2 months ago. And it was brought to your attention at your September meeting. We feel very strongly, members of our executive committee, that of all the items staff has presented, as I iterated at the October meeting, that Spring Hill Road will provide the most prominence. I have a little experience with getting things named after people in that area. We certainly don't feel that East Pensacola Street, which is a slither of street going along the side of the courthouse, is appropriate, and we'd like to give our strong endorsement of the county-maintained section of Spring Hill Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Proctor, I know that this is your issue, and I also understand that at the last meeting you wanted to hear my input, so if I may, I'd like to go ahead and share that before I call on you. I do agree that a great president, and I understand all of our speakers that we've had here this evening. However, the portion of Spring Hill Road affects 55 different addresses, 29 businesses, and 26 residences. All of our names that have been used, or that are, all of our streets that are named have been posthumous honors for law enforcement heroes, as well as Wilhelmina Jakes and Carrie Patterson, who were civil rights pioneers during the bus boycott here in Tallahassee. I know that you asked my input, and I didn't want to let you delay before you had that information and share with you. That's where I'm at. Does that answer the questions you had previously?
Can you be just a little more clear for
Sure.
people who don't, you know?
Yeah, sure. I can certainly ride East Pensacola Street with you as a designation that faces our state capitol and is right here in downtown Tallahassee.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
In queue to speak, I have Commissioner Lindley, then Commissioner Deloge, and Commissioner Proctor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to table this item. I agree with some of the speakers that I don't think we have a good choice. I don't think we have a significant choice. These are incredibly complicated decisions, really. Lots and lots of addresses being changed of individuals and businesses. There are a lot of complexities with the Department of Transportation, state issues, city issues. And frankly, I just look at the four and I feel like, well, I'm supposed to pick one of, none of these four I think are really significant or interesting ideas. I'm not quite sure what is, but at this time, I think we need to hear from the community more and just give some more thought to this to do something that is really more significant. And so for that reason, I'd like to table this agenda item at this time. That's my motion.
Commissioner, that's a motion. We have a motion then to table the item. Do we have a second?
I'll second that for discussion. Would like to hear more discussion.
Okay, we'll continue our discussion. Commissioner Deloge is in queue to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm fine with the naming thing, but I have some of the same heartburn that the chairman has relative to posthumously setting precedents. I would and could easily support the Pensacola Street naming because, frankly, I think we could do the signage that would give it the notoriety that it deserves. My biggest issue is a disruption for not only the personal addresses but the business addresses. Having been in business for a long time, you look at the amount of money, and it sounds like not a big deal, but Rick, if I called you and said, guess what, Second Harvest tomorrow, the name of the road is going to change. My gut tells me between your websites, between your printed material, between your business cards, over a course of time, it's not an insignificant inconvenience. And so that, to me, is an issue that creates a little bit of heartburn for me. And so I just want to be conscious of that. I think we could take the Pensacola Street and make it something that everybody's real proud of. It ends up in Smoky Hollow. It's a downtown street right across the street from the Capitol. And I think, frankly, a lot of people would see that as a great symbol for us. But some of the other streets, I mean, Orange Avenue is kind of all over the place. Spring Hill disrupts an awful lot of people. I have both of those start to give me heartburn. So, but if we table it for more information, I mean, that's the direction we go. But I could get there and would certainly support the Pensacola Street.
Commissioner Proctor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the board's patience to even entertain the naming of a street. Speaking to Dr. Evans's comments of a significant place or street or thing, one of the reasons I thought Orange Avenue to be very significant is because of its future and the growth from that it would represent from Southwood back down to Florida State's new and expanding campus, the Southwest. So you're going to be bounded, area bounded from the east side of Southwood, there at Capitol Circle, up there past the golf course and Innovation Park and Magnetic Lab. Stuff is going to be occurring. It's going to be a significant street. I mean, it's coming. I thought it would be a significant place. But, you know, maybe I've thought too small, and I appreciate Dr. Evans, you saying that this may not be big enough. So I'm thinking that maybe the entire stretch of Capitol Circle is much more significant. Capitol Circle / Barack Obama Circle Avenue, Capitol Circle. You know, he lived in a capital, served in a capital, nation's capital. That's the Capitol Circle. And maybe we should, if in tabling this, we could look at Capitol Circle as an option, because she's right. He deserves bigger than a little itty bitty street. But I wasn't going for the little itty bitty street. I ain't going for the little side street on Jefferson. I guess that's some president's name. Ain't somebody's name was Jefferson the president? Jefferson who wrote the Constitution. Well, we got a president named Monroe, who we sitting on in front of right now. Adams, got a president named Adams. And the issue about posthumous, I come from one of those traditions that says something like, you know, give me my flowers while I live. My flowers dead is keep them. If we're going to do something and it honors the man, but most of all, what I was thinking from my heart is that the South Side needs a name that children identify with. And these zip codes, which condense with poverty, need to see a winner, somebody whose life represents, if you focus on the word, they can pull themselves up to a standard of excellence, like that name, Barack Obama. So in bringing it to the board, it was my interest that this name would be geographically specific to an area where children need this image. People really have short memories. Computers has lessened our ability to think for ourselves. And this name on a street that everybody travels, you know, you have to ask somebody, well, who is Barack Obama? Who is that? Who is that? Who is that? And that's why it was a matter of the heart that I felt the future could reflect on a great man. And our community does have streets, significant streets like Adams, and Governor lives on Adams Street if he wants to. Monroe, significant street, and maybe Capitol Circle ought to reflect that. To the extent that 56 homeowners, residences might be affected, and 29 businesses, total of less than 100 people affected. And what that effect would do, because we would certainly want to give notice, we're not doing this like overnight, but if we adopted this tonight, people would know that by January 1 of 2020, the name would effectively change in the postal places and the phone book places and the GPS places. And you give notice. I believe in notice, commissioners. So 100 people or under 100 people being impacted to make some switches on with the mail post office place is not, in my opinion, a significant inconvenience, not to the magnitude of inconvenience that President Obama experienced in his life in order to serve in a hostile environment for people who live on Spring Hill Road. I'm convinced that we can get there on this dais. I'm not willing to vote for tonight the motion which is on the floor that we kick this can down the street. But I am persuaded by President Hollinger's request, and I'm willing to endorse Capitol Circle. I'm sorry, his ask was Spring Hill Road. And the reason that I was curious about your comments, Chairman Jackson, is because the east side of Spring Hill Road is District 1, and the west side from the center chalk is happens to be District 2. So I felt it very important that half that road is in your district, and the part traveling north is in mine. But I've heard what you've said. It's my hope that the commissioners will listen to Mr. Hollinger, find it in your hearts a place that this particular president's name can go. And for the 56 people, I don't know if they are District 1 people or District 2 people, I don't know, but I'm willing to face the people of District 1 who got a problem with it. I'm willing to look them in the eyeballs and to say, I'm sorry, but as a matter of conscience and convictions, you can meet me at the poll, you can vote against me, I will vote my conscience of what I believe adds velocity and value in terms of a name to the community, and I feel it's the right thing, and I'm willing to live or die by what I believe, and I believe that's what we should do tonight. So I'm willing for the vote to go whichever way it go. I don't want to offer a substitute, but I'm not going to support a tabling issue because President Obama never backed down to represent me, represent y'all, and he wasn't no tabling type guy if he could help it. I'm proud of affordable health care. I'm damn proud. I'm proud of a president who his first act was to sign the Lilly Ledbetter Act to make equal pay for women. His first thing he wanted to do, he has a lot of things he could have signed on, but he wanted fair pay, equal pay for women is the first thing this man did. They said that there was a menacing person out there in the world named Osama bin Laden, where he killed him graveyard dead and buried him in the ocean. So he wasn't no wimp. He wasn't no wimp at all. Took care of the job, whatever was needed. So I can put my vote behind him in front of any of the people who live in District 1. If they don't like it, then I will accept that I've offended them, and they can vote their conscience at the polls. Thank you.
We still have Commissioner Minor, Commissioner Dozier, and Commissioner Maddox.
Just a point of information, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Proctor mentioned that there were under 100 address changes on Spring Hill, but just to clarify, in the agenda item, it says that there are 55 address changes, comprised of 29 commercial establishments, 19 residential, et cetera. So the total number of address changes will be 55. Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. The chairman had said those figures, but I was saying it was less than 100. Okay. Less than 100.
No, is it my turn?
Commissioner Minor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've given this a lot of thought, and I've spoken with a lot of folks in the community about this. I've spoken with members of the NAACP. Some of them are here right now tonight. One thing that I was prepared to vote on this tonight. I don't really support the tabling motion, although I can understand the need for more citizen input. One thing to keep in mind for when this comes back, assuming the motion to table passes, is once a street has been renamed, the public, the addresses, the people living at the addresses along the street have a 90 days advance notice per statute, I believe. One option for us, one way to compromise and to address Commissioner Deloge's point, is to extend that out. If I go back to where I'm at on my nonprofit, a 90-day notice is, I might be a little irate about that name change, but if I have 6 months or if I have a year to plan, to burn through my stationery, so to speak, or to plan my address change on my website, that would, I think, be one way to mitigate the point that you bring up, Commissioner Deloge. All that being said, I've thought about this hard. I've talked with folks around the community. If the vote were taken today, I would support Spring Hill. But I can support the idea, the concept of going back and seeking some more citizen input, particularly in those neighborhoods and along those streets. If you do think about, without doing a survey, we can't do a survey tonight. But if you look at those neighborhoods that are in the south side, I mean, their support during the last the re-election term of Barack Obama was between 85 and 99%. And that's not a direct argument because many of the voters don't necessarily own property in those areas, but it is a sign, a signal that the neighborhoods along Spring Hill would be very supportive of, if you can extrapolate those results to what their current position would be on this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Dozier, then Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a very interesting conversation. I know we are well past dinner time, Mr. Chair, so I will say that I seconded the motion for discussion because I do think this is a complicated issue. And Dr. Evans, I appreciate your comments and Mr. Tucker's comments, all of your comments, but the significance of the road really stood out. I like the way you framed that. I, too, have been concerned about the cost implications. I think it is a good point that the more lead time, the better, or the better for the businesses. For me, I thought a significant, even though, Mr. Tucker, it is a very short road, it was Pensacola you were thinking about right alongside the courthouse, from the Riley House to Monroe Street, right in front of the Capitol, right next to the courthouse. I do think that road could be elevated in a significant way. But what I was going to ask, make the motion, Commissioner Lindley, if we got back to your motion, and I don't believe there's another motion on the table, is that right?
That's the only motion we have at this time.
Okay. Was that if we were going to table this, I'm not necessarily interested in losing the momentum of the discussion. We're starting to get more input. And I wonder if a conversation with the city and with the South Beans Barnes at the Riley House might be the next step in this process. We could not rename Pensacola without the city's input. And the conversation about partnering with the Riley House and really making that road, elevating the prominence of whatever we do along that road and the renaming is intriguing to me, even if it is a short road. So that's what I was going to add into your comments about tabling with some added discussion. If the majority of the board were thinking about Spring Hill Road, I could get there. I think it is part of the new gateway. There will be redevelopment, and the cost may be mitigated if we expanded the time for businesses. So I kind of like that suggestion. So I could get there. But I do think additional conversations on Pensacola are interesting, or allowing input for other areas and other types of significant recognition. And my last comment here, I think I said this at the last time we brought up this discussion. I fully understand and appreciate why you, Commissioner Proctor, first mentioned Orange Avenue, both for its significance and the location in town. But the first African-American president is significant to everyone, whether you voted for him or not or anything. This was a milestone for our country, and I am glad that we're having this conversation. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Lindley on point, and then you'll be up, Commissioner Maddox.
Well, excuse me, on point, my intent is not to kill the idea entirely, and I do sort of like the idea of at least conferring with our folks on the city. These are just, I don't hear a consensus for any one place, and I just feel like we're still in that spot of trying to choose the best of kind of okay suggestions. I don't think they're significant. The Pensacola piece, which is a very short strip, it's from Franklin Boulevard, Mr. Tucker, Dr. Tucker, to Monroe Street. It's, what, 4 blocks, 3 or 4 blocks. It doesn't affect address changes, so there is that, but whether it's significant, not so much. All those other addresses would have to be changed if this was your business or your home, and the county commission just said, zap, you're going to have a new address. I don't think we've heard from a lot of people how they would feel about this. As I said early on, when this idea first came forward, President Obama was president of all of us. I'm very proud that he served. I appreciate the South Side support politically, of course, the 85%, but I think I would like to see us try to do something that is more of a statement. And so for me, I'm fine with tabling with the caveat that we try to confer with others in the community and bring it back at some point. But I'm just simply not ready to vote on any of the 4 tonight, and I won't. But I defer to my colleagues. If we have a majority for one or the other of them, it's all right with me. It's a democracy.
Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So first things first, Commissioner Proctor, thank you for bringing this back. Thank the Commission for, during my chairmanship, allowing this to come forward today as an agenda item under our current chair. I'm there for Spring Hill under the recommendation of the NAACP, interested in Capitol Circle under the suggestion of Commissioner Proctor, but not necessarily there at the table. When the motion comes about, I will have to vote against it. I think this is something that we need to take action on. But if that motion does pass to table, what I would ask is that the next time this agenda item comes back to us, not in the situation of saying we need to reach out to those business owners to see how they feel about it. Let's go ahead and get out of the way. That way we're not in this position again where we are considering not taking action because we don't know exactly who's on board and who's not from the business owners that are on that block. But as for me, I would be ready today to go ahead and go with Spring Hill, but I can't vote to table. Again, I am interested in the idea of Capitol Circle. We talk about significance. Capitol Circle is extremely significant, but I think Spring Hill, given the gateway it's going to be and coming in from the airport, will hold some significance as well. So I'll be voting against the motion to table. And like I said, could get there on Spring Hill and interested in Capitol Circle. Thank you.
Commissioner Proctor.
Mr. Chairman,
back to
I
you.
want to ask county staff the question of what are the technicalities to Capitol Circle hyphen Barack Obama? Is that just...
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners,
Yes.
as we pointed out in the analysis, there is an explicit prohibition in state law that prevents you from naming a state road, or from the state from naming a state road after a living person.
So, now the state name Appalachian Parkway Ronald Reagan, who did that?
It's a designation, not a renaming. So you could do a designation on various roads except for a state road, but you could, and the state can do a designation that doesn't violate that rule. But again, the Ronald Reagan is a state designation, not a name change.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to offer a substitute motion that we go with option number 3, and that is that we pursue renaming Spring Hill Road from Capitol Circle to Lake Bradford Road, where the Pineview Elementary School is located, and it would be called officially Barack Obama Boulevard. I think that the time of notification to citizens it would be significant enough to accommodate whatever you have to do to post office, GPS, everybody in society that needs to know that. I appreciate your consideration, and I offer that as a motion.
Okay, I think we have to dispense with the original motion, which is to table.
As a substitute motion.
Substitute motion, okay. So then. So the substitute motion is to rename Spring Hill, the portion of Spring Hill Road to Barack Obama Boulevard. Motion has been made by Commissioner Proctor, seconded by Commissioner Maddox. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That's 4. Now, let me do a hand. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Yep.
You got the substitute motion.
Point of information, Mr. Chair, this was for Spring Hill.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, and Mr. County Attorney, you may need to weigh in here. Can we put a pause on the vote for 1 second? I know you just called for it, and I'm not even sure that that is possible. I thought there was more of a consensus on Spring Hill because we heard comments from a majority of the board that Spring Hill was acceptable. I have an added concern right now that this would be a split vote. And I think finding a consensus is important because this is of significance, and we have all expressed a desire to move forward or to look at this issue in some way. So
you're vacillating?
I am for a second here. So there was only 3 votes in favor of that?
Yes.
Is that, okay.
You with the majority.
All right, I'm going to
think you
have to pass this one, and we'll try again in a second. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
What that mean?
Commissioner Deloge is in queue to speak on point.
She voted against. It fell.
Yeah.
So you rather split vote against it than a split vote for it? Because it's a split vote either way you go.
All right.
But you just decided to split
several,
side as opposed to it.
All right, go ahead.
Only suggestion I would make for the motion that we have on the table now to table is that can we take some of these options off the table that we absolutely know we don't want to do, and maybe leave staff with the ones that we're interested in. If they want to come back with some more, they can come back some more. But I don't want to review all these all over again. Can we eliminate some of them? Only quick request I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Several commissioners in queue to speak.
What's the status of where we are right now, Mr. Chairman?
Right now, I think that we're at the point where we have just voted for Spring Hill, and we have a 4-3 vote.
Against, we lost. Obama lost. We didn't lose, Obama lost. People lost. I'm just going by
Then
where we at.
We go back to the motion to table for further information and to, I have in my notes, to talk to city staff and the ramifications of other options.
The maker of the motion, I don't have any objections to taking off some of the other alternatives on this if you want to. I mean, I would definitely delete Tram Road.
I would be in agreement with that.
I'd like to talk to that too as well. I have in queue to speak Commissioner Deloge.
I'm fine with trying to narrow the field a little bit because you're right, it's very confusing. And let me just say as an alternative, I feel that the Pensacola Street would meet everybody's needs, and as part of the analysis, rather than trying to go in and completely change a major thoroughfare, which I think is disruptive, if we did it to Franklin or to the Pensacola Street that runs there, let's ask staff to see, are there some alternatives we can do so that the signage is big and is bold and is something that we can be proud of. Frankly, I think that would meet everybody's needs with the least amount of disruption from business and personal addresses, and frankly, I would be very supportive of that. So I would love to see that stay in as an alternative, if that's okay. To stay in, yeah, I'm asking we don't thin the crowd down. Some of the ones like Tram don't appeal to me. It sounds like Capitol Circle becomes a non-starter. So
Capitol Circle is a starter from the standpoint of a dedication. though.
you could do Capitol Circle if the state was willing to respond to that, so.
Okay.
So then I think the field is narrowed down then to Capitol Circle as an honorary, nope? Okay. Okay.
It's not doable, but the dedication to Capitol Circle is doable, correct, Mr. Administrator?
Designation.
Yes.
And then East Pensacola would be the other option. Am I correct?
Orange Avenue is on this list as well. I guess we can keep it there?
Are we going?
I think it's going to be dead on arrival when it comes back because we have 4 commissioners that is not really interest of theirs.
Mr. Chair, can I?
Yes. Yeah, let's hold the item until after break, and then we will,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
yes.
Vaseline.
I'm not sure if we took a vote on calling the question, but I did.
I second.
Okay, so that ends discussion, but I need to have clarity on the motion on the table, and I do recognize that we've held this very long.
There's a vote to call the question.
Right.
Okay, so you need
But you have to vote to,
It's not debatable, there's a vote to call the question.
but we have to vote that.
We have to
on
vote
that.
to call the question.
Yes.
Okay, so then at this point, we will vote, call to question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign.
Aye. To call the question.
That's the vote on the question to be called is on the motion to table.
All the questions passed.
Yes, call the question passed.
Go straight to
Yes,
the motion.
straight to the motion.
Can you restate the motion?
I can restate the motion.
Yes.
Motion is to table this with instructions to staff to speak with city staff regarding some of these options, and also to eliminate the Tram Road option. I think that included would be the possibility of Capitol Circle as a designation, at least to explain that to us a little more, and bring it back. So this is not to kill, but to elaborate, and I hope that we would hear from citizens in the community in the meantime a little bit too. So that's
Mr.
it.
Administrator,
This has been the spirit of trying to help clarify 2 things. One, if you table a motion, it dies. So tabling it means that it goes away. What we do have the ability to do is provide board direction, which would be different. If the board wants to give staff direction, specific direction to continue to analyze certain things and bring them back, we can do that too. But to say table and do that is a little bit, so I would just, in terms of clarification, you could either table or you could give staff direction to do anything you like and in terms of bringing the issue
Well,
back.
suppose we continue it. Can she continue it? Is that a effective measure to move it forward as the same item without killing it?
So it sounds like I need to withdraw my motion to table and have a board direction for further information from staff.
Because otherwise, you're mixing 2
I hear you.
procedures.
I hear you. Table's killing it, never to come back again.
Well, unless somebody puts
Unless
a
we-
motion on the floor to untable it.
I'll make the motion to untable it.
You can't, you're making a motion. I make a motion to untable.
You want to modify your motion to continue the matter indefinitely, but give those instructions to staff?
I beg your pardon, I can modify my motion to,
You're just going to withdraw your motion to table and make a new motion to postpone indefinitely and instruct staff to have those discussions and put it back on the agenda when it is ready to come back on the agenda.
that is exactly what I want to do. Thank you very much.
Amazing. It's amazing.
Well put.
Commissioner Minor.
Get a lawyer involved and it's
Who's
all
the second to the motion?
I'll second.
She's second.
2 seconds.
Commissioner Minor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Point of inquiry.
The second. Point of
Second
order,
was
the second-
by Commissioner Dozier.
She withdrew her second.
So the motion,
So the
can we
second,
We have
modify
a
the motion with a different second? We cannot, and we called the question, so I don't understand what's happening.
so now we're back to a point, if the seconder
I will
of
second it
the,
to end it.
thank you.
So-
Thank you.
Point of inquiry. At this point, I can introduce a motion to amend the amendment, to amend a motion for returning it at a time certain. What I didn't want to do is my preference would be to have the agenda item come back at a time certain, whether it's March or whatever, to give the public time to comment on this and come back to us by that time. If it's tabled, or not tabled, but if it's given back to staff indefinitely, it's going to be harder for us to get citizen input on it until without a light at the end of the tunnel.
I think all of us would agree with that it needs to be brought back to a vote. So the motion would be to make it at our January, February meeting. Would that allow?
Making a motion set indefinitely.
Okay.
And any changes will have to be made by the maker of the motion. And there was a call to question, so, Mr. Attorney, as I understand it, if it's called to question, because the motion changed, does that undo the call?
If the maker of the motion on which the question was called withdraws the motion, then there's nothing left on the floor.
What about modifying the motion?
I believe Commissioner Lindley then made a new motion. She withdrew her motion to table and made a new motion to continue the matter and directing staff to bring back those limited other options after talking to the city. Commissioner Minor is now suggesting that we say, bring it back in March. I mean, I'm picking that out.
Mr. Maker, I'm going to go ahead and call the question.
Wait, I don't really want to have a time certain on there. I have a lot of faith in our staff bringing things back as soon as they reasonably can. You know, I mean, what day will you set? You know, it would just.
So a motion has been made and has been seconded to bring back. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Any other commissioners in queue to speak?
Yeah, 3, as I see.
Okay. Commissioner Proctor.
I want to respect the parliamentary procedure and process that a motion to table is, and I think we should. Have we voted on that?
No, the motion now is to continue indefinitely.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Not it.
No comment.
Commissioner Deloge, and then
I'm good. I seconded Commissioner Lindley's, and I'm good with that. Let's get
Ms. Lindley.
any other commissioners in queue to speak?
I believe you have one more.
Okay, then we are ready to vote.
Okay.
All right. All those in favor of bringing of Commissioner Lindley's motion, seconded by Commissioner Deloge, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
5-2.
Passes.
Correct?
5-2.
5-2.
We'll get back.
All right, we will have a very short adjournment and be back here for a public hearing at 6.